In this video, I will recreate Flappy Bird using Scratch, the coding platform used to create games, with very simple coding blocks. If you want, you can try to follow along. I'm going to narrate some of the parts as I go through, just so you have some idea of what I am doing. But without further ado, let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is insert a new sprite. Conveniently, I have this Flappy Bird sprite on my computer, so I'm going to use that. You can then play around with the size and any other features you want for your sprite. The next thing I'm going to be adding is gravity. To do this, I'm going to create a y velocity variable and then have it so that every time a forever loop is run, the y velocity variable will increase and the y position of the player sprite will change by the y velocity. I will then have the y velocity set to 0 at the beginning of the project when the green flag is clicked. The next thing I'm going to be adding is a jump mechanic, so that when the space key is pressed, our bird will jump. To do this, all I need to do is take a when space key pressed event, and then go ahead and put under it set y velocity to a positive number like 5. To make this a bit smoother, I'm going to replace the event block with a sense block so that my final code runs so that when the green flag is clicked, it will wait until the space key is pressed or the mouse is down or someone taps on their screen on mobile. Then set the y velocity to 5 so that the sprite will jump, and then wait until either the mouse or the space key isn't down anymore, and then wait until the next input. This will prevent people from just holding the space bar and having the sprite move upwards infinitely. The next thing I'm going to do is create an obstacle sprite. In the original Flappy Bird game, when you touch an obstacle, the game will stop. To do this, I'm going to create a sprite and make it like a pipe, like in the original game, and then put some code into it. So the first thing I want to do is create an interval variable. This will determine how often the obstacle will appear. I will then run a forever loop so that the obstacle will be cloned every interval amount of seconds. This clone will go to a random y position and then go to the edge of the screen, the very far right, where it will spawn and then move across the screen. However, to stop the obstacle from showing up abruptly, I'm going to create a border sprite to put in front of the obstacle so that when the obstacle spawns, it will just glide out smoothly. The border sprite will be nothing more than just black lines at the edge of the screens, and make sure to make these even on both sides. The next thing I'm going to do is create a speed variable. I'm then going to add some code so that when the obstacle reaches a certain y position, it will delete the clone. This will prevent your project from crashing due to clone spam. Once I've done that, I'm going to implement some code in my player sprite so that when the player touches the obstacle, the entire project will just stop. The next thing I'm going to do is create another obstacle that goes above the other obstacle, just like in the original Flappy Bird game where you have two obstacles. To do this, we first need to go back to our sprite and change the costumes, because otherwise it's going to be very painful, as I spent half an hour figuring out. Just go ahead and make sure that the tip of the obstacle is in the center of the screen in the costumes. Then find the highest and lowest points for both obstacles and insert them as their y variables to find the maximum height that they should be able to reach. Once you've done that, find the minimum gap you want the two obstacles to have so that the player sprites can fit through. then go to your second obstacle, and then have that gap difference added to the already randomized position that the pipe will have. This will also require a new variable. Once all of that is done, I basically have the basic Flappy Bird, just without points or anything. However, in the original game, the sprite will rotate every time it moves. So I'm going to go ahead and add some rotation to the player sprite, similar to how I did the gravity at the beginning. Once all that is finished, I'm going to go ahead and add some backdrop and scenery. A simple backdrop like a nice sky, and scenery like clouds. I will then use the predetermined speed variable multiplied by a number with a decimal, probably something between 0.5 and 1.5, and then have the size of these sprites also correspond with that to make it look a bit more realistic. The next thing I will add is speed ramping with difficulty, so that over time the speed and the interval both increase. And there we have it. We have a pretty simple Flappy Bird game. However, I'm not finished here. In the next or later videos, I will add a point system, a shop, character customization, something to stop the game from becoming impossible towards the end, because it becomes literally impossible once you reach a certain point. But anyway, that is all for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below for any cool things you want me to make on Scratch in the future. I am thinking of making a how-to Scratch tutorial series, so if you're interested, then make sure to tell me down below. You can also check out my Scratch playlist because it has a few other projects, and that's all. See you next time.